Welcome back to the very last session of the day today, which is all about rising to the challenge. Take your seats. My name is Kirsten Bound. I'm Director of International Innovation at Nesta. And as you've noticed, this is a pretty international audience today. Nesta's international work is growing really rapidly as we work with partners all around the world for everything from helping them measure innovation to discover solutions for antimicrobial resistance problems. This is making all of our work a lot richer as a result, but is also helping us to reach out to new audiences around the world. And I'd like to thank the World Bank for filming everything today and making sure that those who weren't already global superstars on the panels today will be sometime soon in the future. So this session, Rising to the Challenge. Well, I'm wondering how many of you in the room have had a call like the one I had the other day from a very, very well-meaning government official. He said to me, "Oh, hi, I was wondering if you could help me. I'd really like to set up a lab." I was like, "Oh, great, yeah, that sounds really interesting. Yeah, tell me, what's the problem? What are you looking to solve?" "Well, so global poverty, and then we'd also like to create jobs at home. Really interested in a new video game sector." Okay, I'll get back to you. We've talked about addressing the huge challenges today, and we're aiming really high, but how do we make sure that we're actually setting the right ambitions, the right goals, the right targets, and we're removing the things that actually enable us to get those results and show them? So today, our first speaker of this session is James Anderson, Head of Government Innovation for Bloomberg Philanthropies. And if there's anyone who knows about turning a zeitgeisty, hazy idea into something really practical and viable, which affects literally millions of lives, then it's James. So I'd like to thank Bloomberg Philanthropy for sponsoring the attendance of a lot of the people here in the audience today and making that possible, but also for being a fantastic partner across such a range of Nesta projects, from iTeams with Ruth Patek and Peter Beck, who are here in the audience, but also the Mayor's Challenge and a range of other things. So without further ado, over to you.
Good afternoon, everybody. It's great to be here. It's great to, my head is exploding a little bit by all of the great content that I heard today. We are hugely appreciative of the partnership that we have with Nesta and with all of the other partner organizations, and we're really delighted to help fund some scholarships for some public sector innovators to come here and experience this with us over these couple of days. So in the government innovation programs at Bloomberg Philanthropies, we focus on two things. The first is building problem-solving capacity, innovation capacity within local governments. And the second is helping ideas that work spread among cities. So we think of cities as an ever-ready distribution network for ideas that work. It's been great to hear a lot of conversation over the course of the day about the potential of labs and units at the city level. We agree with that. From our perch, it's clear that innovation practices within city halls are really growing around the world. Mayors and local leaders are beginning to think much more intentionally about their capacity to innovate. They're increasingly reaching for approaches, tools, and structures, whether that's data, design, procurement reform, innovation chiefs, innovation teams. At the same time, this is new and early work for many cities. The practices are truly inconsistent. Many efforts are focused at the program or the project level, not at the systems or strategic level. There's a lot of experimentation, yes, which is great, but there's also a lot of wheel recreating and, frankly, a lot of floundering happening under the banner of innovation. It continues to be seen as a nice-to-do pursuit rather than a need to make investment in most places. So there's a lot of work to be done. iTeams, we think, have the potential to change a lot of that by challenging, reshaping, and making far more impactful the way local governments tackle big challenges and gaining champions from there. We engage hundreds of cities a year in our participation programs, ranging from the Mayor's Challenges to City Lab to the mayoral innovation studios that we host. We now support innovation projects or capacity building efforts in 80 cities. In 19 of these cities, we're actually funding I-teams, innovation teams. And it's through the context of that experience that I wanted to weigh in on the afternoon's questions. Can labs and teams address our biggest challenges, and what are the barriers that they face to doing so? I want to say that we think it's a lot to do with ambition, raising it, cultivating it, maintaining it, and for those of us that fund or work in these teams or labs, insisting upon it. When Mayor Mitch Landrieu of New Orleans hands his I-team his city's most intractable challenge, reducing its nation-leading murder rates, and that I-team in turn leads an innovation effort that results in a 20% decline in murder in 18 months, Mayor Landrieu's ambition for innovation and for his I-team grows. Even more, the mayors of Jerusalem and Long Beach and Los Angeles and Peoria, Illinois, come to appreciate that it was Mayor Landrieu's innovation team that led the successful turnaround, and they stopped narrowly defining innovation as concerned with apps and technological enhancements or one-off program improvements, and start thinking about it as an approach to addressing the substantive social and economic issues facing their cities. Ambition realized begets greater ambition. Producing clear and measurable results begets greater ambition. We were reminded earlier today that in the public sector, we have the opportunity to solve big malaria-like issues rather than selling baked beans. But sometimes we don't reach for that. And that keeps this movement that we're all a part of building in the nice to do rather than the need to do column. It pushes the work to the margins and inhabits tackling problems at scale. Raising ambition amongst these teams is something we've thought a lot about as we've done this work over the past 4 years. And I'd like to share 3 or 4 things that we've learned about raising ambition that come from those practical experiences in the field. The first lesson for us is that you have to shoot for impacting issues that matter to people. By ambition, we're asking our teams, are you aiming to achieve a significant impact on an issue that matters to your citizens in your community? A 20% decrease in murder matters to people. A 30% reduction in commercial vacancy rates in long distressed neighborhoods matters to people. Figuring out how to dramatically cut the costs of childcare to keep young families in a city matters to people. From a movement building perspective, we're less focused on whether it's a disruptive innovation or an incremental one. This is often in the eyes of the beholder, and more about whether these teams are working on issues that matter to people in communities and are producing impact that can be measured and felt by people in communities. We've come to see that emphasis as essential. We've funded 2 rounds of innovation teams, 5 in the first round, 14 in the second. 80% roughly of the second round of grantees, these are 14 cities that have just staffed up this spring, are taking on truly ambitious problem-solving agendas right from the outset. With the first round of grantees, we didn't see anywhere near that level of ambition at the beginning. These new cities are focused on big issues, housing affordability, rethinking the city's approach to financing infrastructure, reducing cost of living, revitalizing neighborhoods without displacing poor people who've lived there forever, ensuring equality of opportunity or access amongst marginalized groups. These are big, important problems that matter to citizens. Without a doubt, these city leaders had greater confidence taking on these kinds of issues because they could reference back to the track record that had been created by I-teams before them. Clear results beget greater ambition and create opportunities for scale and sustainability. The second point I wanted to make today is we really believe in the importance of engaging political leadership. In the research with Nesta, we certainly learned and found that proximity to the political system is something that all of us in this room carefully consider. As many have raised today, there's a sense that the farther into government you go, the less bold you can be. Of course, it is also equally true that the more proximate to political leadership, the greater the likelihood of adoption and scale. And we would argue strongly that the potential benefits of marrying proximity with ambition is ground worth staking out and that we should be fighting for. But it's only going to be attainable if we build the case to get leaders to aim higher and higher as we move these efforts forward. It's not going to go from 0 to 100 overnight. At Bloomberg Philanthropies, we do almost all of our work directly with mayors. The I-teams we fund sit in city halls. The challenge and the opportunity as we see it is that ambition levels often flow from the mayor. When mayors focus their teams on less prominent issues, they create an ambition ceiling. Conversely, when they aim high, so do their teams. So when the ambition of leadership is low, the question becomes, how do we raise it? The tactics that seem to be working within our portfolio include educating mayors themselves on what we mean by innovation, meaning the process, not the outputs. Their eyes open up when they really get this stuff firsthand. Creating incentives like recognition and acclaim that appeal to mayors politically and personally. Focusing on measuring impact because they really care about that and it gives them confidence to go farther. And showcasing models from other jurisdictions that they can borrow. Mayors often desire what other mayors have. And we can use that strategically to get them to think bigger. Internally, we call this innovation envy, and we use it to our advantage. The mayors of Tel Aviv and Jerusalem are a case in point. These two teams are in our second round of grantees. They are well positioned to produce some of the boldest agendas that are coming out of our second round of grants. These teams talk to one another. They're here today. I hear they're going dancing later tonight, which is super cool. The mayors know one another. The teams were encouraged by a friendly sense of competition between the two cities that has pushed both teams' ambition levels much higher. So we're trying to create a movement of mayors around innovation. Their ambitions are rising with each consecutive success. Their sights are getting higher, and we want to continue to stoke that. The third issue is a little bit different, but it's one that we've been thinking a lot about, and it's probably one of the greatest challenges that we see currently for the I-teams that we work with, and that's overcoming the race to quicker, easy solutions that's so endemic within the public sector. We all know that spending time and energy to truly understand a problem is absolutely critical. It's threatening to agency experts and to the culture within city halls and other governments. But it's also unquestionably one of the most challenging and uncomfortable areas of work, and certainly for the teams that we fund. I want to share this really awesome quote from one of the I-Teams directors on this very subject. This is all in quotes. Our mayor is really results driven, and he has a very hard time with this concept. Not because he doesn't believe in it or think it's not worthwhile, but he has a hard time living in that space of possibility and exploration. And when he does live in that space, he wants it done in 2 hours. He is very hands-on mayor, and he wants constant updates on our progress. And we're in exploration and idea generation. And he's like, what ideas do you have? And we say them, and he asks, why aren't we implementing those ideas? And we're like, we're in exploration and idea generation. But he wants to know the results and what we're going to do with them. He's not against these efforts, but he's results-driven, so there's a conflict. I love that quote. It says so much. And maybe this is one of those issues that the closer you get to the political center, the harder it is to sit in that uncertainty. But in city after city, we see that critical phase of truly understanding and defining a problem is undervalued and misunderstood. This phase of inquiry is not seen as an important event in its own right. We see this in city after city, and I think there's an incredible education challenge for all of us in that. And as the quote suggests, the priority for speed and for real work creates an impatience that can undermine the capacity of teams to be ambitious and produce impact. I'll never forget the early work that occurred in New Orleans on murder. There was a strong, broadly shared perspective in that city that they did not have a group violence or gang problem. This belief informed the response of all agencies, from the police department to the youth and community engagement offices. Over the course of several weeks, the I-Team brought together more and better data to help everybody understand the true nature of the murder epidemic in that city, and showed decision makers that, in fact, murder was overwhelmingly being committed by small numbers of closely affiliated young people, often called gangs. This opened the door to an entirely different set of evidence-based opportunities and innovative new approaches that the city literally would never have considered had they not had those insights. Similar efforts to fully investigate the problem are underway in Boston. There, the mayor has handed his team the hugely ambitious issue of affordable housing. Rather than embracing long-standing assumptions around the nature of the problem and known solutions, Nigel Jacob, who's here with us today, and the team are deeply examining the key drivers of that challenge as it exists in that city. What's driving the cost to build? the cost of materials, the cost of architectural or legal services, the cost of labor, the cost of debt, the cost of land. What's driving the cost to buy? The cost of the down payment, the credit scores of home buyers, the ability to access low-interest mortgages. As they drill further and further in their work, fundamentally different perspectives and opportunities are emerging, and the potential for really making a mark on this issue and creating meaningful impact emerge. At Bloomberg Philanthropies, in closing, I would say that we are very focused on elevating methods that work. I was delighted by the conversation earlier today around the need to better document and articulate our theories of practice and the methods and the different ways that all of us are working. I see so many innovation efforts underway in American cities today and in cities around the world, with far too few of them benefiting from the earned wisdom of people in this room, right? So that's just an incredible wasted resource, and we're missing a huge opportunity to accelerate and leapfrog learning as new cities start to take this work on. So we do need to get better at chronicling our work and how we're working differently, articulating our theories, telling our stories, holding up methods, and allowing others to scrutinize them, study them, absorb them, use them, refine them, reject them, replicate them. I hope we can push ourselves in the coming months to better chronicle and open source our methods and help these new and emerging innovation units around the world find a better balance between experimentation and taking up methods that are bound to produce better results. With that, I thank you very much, and I look forward to hearing from the other panelists.